Blaunter class multi-axis manipulator control system operation teaching. Function-Struct settings. Click on Function-Struct settings. There are settings for x1, x2, y1, y2, z, struct, and time. The settings for the upper parts of x1, x2, y1, y2, and z are consistent with the security point settings. First, let's look at the maximum displacement. This function can only be set by checking the origin offset option in the struct origin. Maximum displacement is set based on the actual position of the origin. Assuming the actual position of the origin is offset by 20 in the negative direction, that is, set to -20. After returning to the origin, the relevant axis will continue to move in the opposite direction of the maximum displacement by 20 millimeters. After completing the offsetting, the coordinate will still display as 0. Distance or rotation, which sets the distance traveled by each servo-axis motor per revolution. Click on plus test and measure the actual distance traveled by the corresponding shaft. This distance represents the distance traveled by the axis motor during one rotation. It should be noted that an error in this setting may cause the machine to malfunction. Motor reversal. When the motor rotates counterclockwise by default, the axis moves away from the origin. If checked, the motor will move towards the direction closer to the origin when rotating counterclockwise. End limit and start limit have options of normally closed and unlock. The selection of unlock or closed can be made based on the type of sensor. Let's take a look at the time setting. This is a time limit for receiving various motion signals from the robotic arm. For example, the main arm moves forward for 3 seconds. The time process for the main arm to receive and sense the forward signal is 3 seconds. If the detection signal is not sensed within 3 seconds, the system will trigger an alarm. Parameters can be set according to actual needs. Next, let's look at the struct. First, the arm define. All axis definitions have options for none, pneumatic axis, servo, and step motor. Confirm based on the actual situation of the robotic arm. Reserved define. Currently, the models of robotic arms basically do not use the normal. All check extent. YO for 2 check the stop LED. The monitoring output page is displayed as a stop status. Check extent display as reserved 9. YO for 3 check the run LED. The monitoring output page is displayed as a auto status. Check extent display as reserved 10. Reserve interlock. Check the box to ensure that the outputs of reserve 1 and reserve 2 do not affect each other. Unchecked, reservation 1 and reservation 2 are interlocked. That is, if reserve 1 has an output, outputting from reserve 2 will disconnect the output signal of reserve 1. Two signals cannot be output simultaneously. Signal define. The single arm and double arm options are selected based on the actual mechanical structure. The following limit definitions are only valid for pneumatic axes and not for servo axes. Origin. Origin sequence refers to the axis sequence in which the robotic arm returns to its home position. If you need to return to the original point using the x1 y1 z method, then set 1 as x1, 2 as y1, and 3 as z. No other options. Origin speed. Set the speed at which each axis returns to its original point. Origin setting. When using an absolute value motor for the A or C axis, if the 0 point is lost, it is necessary to record the 0 point of that axis on this interface. The types of origins include long origin, short origin, limit origin, and Z origin outside the mold. We choose based on the actual situation. Other define. The safety door mode allows for the selection of options such as run on closed door and return, closed door stop, and run on closed door confirm. Run on closed door, the manipulator fails to fetch, opens and then closes the safety door, and the manipulator continues to execute the next line of the program. Closed door and return, the manipulator fails to fetch, opens and then closes the safety door. The manipulator re-executes the program before the mold opening is completed, returns to the starting point, and waits for the signal indicating the completion of the mold opening for the first mock examination. Close door stop. The manipulator fails to fetch, opens and then closes the safety door. The manipulator stops at its current position and exits automatic mode. Run on close door confirm. The manipulator fails to fetch, opens and then closes the safety door. The program will pop up a prompt. Select Continue, and the robotic arm will continue to execute the next line of the program. Select Off, and the robotic arm will return to the starting point to retrieve the object again. The adjust function is currently not supported on existing models and is disabled by no use. Pause signal, off and on by default. Limit switch. The default is off and off. When the switch is damaged, the robotic arm will immediately trigger an alarm. No Z-origin switch. There is no need for an external safety zone that senses the Z-axis, and the arm can lower itself. It is recommended not to check this. Servo flex refers to the stability of a machine when it comes to a stop. There is a selection range of 0-7. The larger the parameter value, the stronger the rigidity, and the more stable the stopping. In mold rotation, after the robotic arm descends into the mold, can the fixture be vertically flipped to become horizontal? Generally limit and flipping movements are not allowed. Use with caution based on actual circumstances. Mold opening and shake time sets the effective time of the mold opening completion signal. The system considers the signal valid only when it reaches the set time after the mold opening completion signal is turned on. Use pause. Restrict the use of pause function during the hole, during the outside, or during the outside down. Odds. Safety during descent outside the specified range. Time limit for the robotic arm to descend outside the mold. If the set time is exceeded, the robotic arm will give an alarm. Force N. When the servo enablement is abnormal, you can try using forced enablement and open monitoring to check the signal issue. Servo parameters. On the left, you can view the servo parameters of the corresponding axis. Click the refresh button. The servo parameter values will be displayed in the corresponding box. If you want to modify the parameter value, we can directly enter new values into the text box. You can also set it in the box on the right. There are parameter addresses, parameter values, and parameter names. The box on the left of the parameter address can be filled with the servo parameter number. The box on the right displays the current servo parameter values. Parameter setting steps. 1. Press the emergency stop button. 2. Enter the servo parameter number. 3. Enter the target value of the servo parameter and click the right send button. 4. Check whether the target value is consistent with the value on the top right. If they are the same, the parameter setting is successful. Otherwise, the parameter setting has failed and needs to be reset. 5. After successfully setting the parameters, restart the servo and the hand controller for the new settings to take effect. The servo parameter table can be downloaded from the official website's download center. Download the manual of the robotic arm for reference and understanding.